So I think that one of the most extreme forms of nagomi is to go separate ways. In life, you sometimes encounter people of very different opinions, very heterogeneous worldviews, and when that happens, you are at a loss what to do. You would like to come to an agreement. Balanced coexistence with that person. But sometimes it might be difficult. There are many different ideologies and many different belief systems in this world, and you know, you might want to communicate with these people, but it's sometimes difficult. And when that happens, I think it'll be best not to have closely connected relationship with the person because that can be mutually destructive from time to time. And of course, at the basic human level, we are all the same. We like to live a better life. We like to be true to oneself, and we like to, achieve what we dream. And that is, I think, the basic human condition through everywhere in this world. But the manifestations of these basic drives, basic desires might be different from place to places from time to time. And, even in this country, in Japan, I do sometimes feel that my views and my values are different from those in society. And I don't necessarily resonate with what is popular in Japan and vice versa. And, what I cherish might not be relevant for those people who are not interested in that. For example, I am very much interested in satire, critical comedy, and I love Monty Python and Saturday Night Live and Daily Show, Late Show, and so on. But in Japan, unfortunately, these forms of comedy are not so popular. Uh, so what I love is not so much loved by the general public here in Japan, and vice versa. I do not really appreciate the mainstream comedy format in this country. So when that happens, it's difficult to arrive at a nagomi between different ways of arriving at laughter. So what I find is practical, both practical and profoundly maybe wise, is to go separate ways. Let it be. Let them be. Let me be. We do not necessarily have to come to an agreement because when we try to discuss the different views of on comedy, for example, it can lead to confrontations and mutual misunderstandings, and maybe we are different for some good reasons. I mean, when it comes to how we organize our society, there are many different ways of doing that, and you don't have to look very far to realize that in the world today there are many different ideologies, and based depending on where you live, the professed views of the government are different. And there is this argument that maybe there are no universal values, and maybe everything is relative, and each region has its own doctrine, and each country is entitled to pursue its own ideal. And I personally do not believe that. I do think that, well, I'm not a devout fan of Francis Fukuyama, but I do believe that there would is convergence. This concept of convergence, I think, is relevant if when we try to understand human history, and I do believe that. Having said that, for the time being, it is true. It is certainly true that there are many different ideologies in the world, and when you try to, you know, integrate these ideologies, there would be clashes, and there would be confrontations, and there will be disagreements, dissonances, and which some might some people might say is essential for coming to eventual agreement and eventual convergence of world history. But for the time being, I do believe that it is better for us to go separate ways. And let them be, and let us be. And I think that's one extreme form of nagomi. Nagomi is about coexistence, harmony, and so on. And if we discuss and come to a mutual agreement, that would be great. That would be great. But, if for the time being it's difficult for us to come to an agreement, then it'll be better to go separate ways rather than to have a clash between different ideas. I don't think that is the way to go. I think it's rather important for us to acknowledge each other's presence, acknowledge each other's different ways of doing things, and go each way. I think that's a great way to maintain diversity, because after all, on this earth, we are living in an ecosystem where diversity is important, and that would be guaranteed if we go each way. If we follow what each of us believe, and just let it be. I think that's a really great way of keeping diversity. So one way to maintain nagomi is to go separate ways. I think that's really practical and probably profound wisdom coming from the way of nagomi.